And so Slim is there. Boss Hog Outlaws are in the building. So Slim's there with about 4 guys. Okay. I'm there. I got my homies from Brooklyn, my boys Hood and my boy B.O. And then also my guy Keith, who's one of the founders of FUBU.
This is in New York.
This is in New York.
Okay.
And so we're on the set and we're filming the video. And if you look at the video, there's a lot of kind of skimpy outfits.
Right.
Right? And Queenie's there also. So it's not like I'm like sitting there salivating over another woman. But we're like, yo, this is crazy. Beyonce's dancing in this short skirt, and then she's dancing in like a bikini type of thing, you know?
And also, you've known her since she was very young, right?
I've known her for many years, but I wouldn't say that we had the closest of relationships, right? My relationship was more so with her father than her at the time. Which now I can actually say I have Beyonce's number in my phone, but it's under a code, so you wouldn't know who it was. You wouldn't be able to find Beyonce's number in my phone. But anyway, so we're on the set of the video, and obviously there's a lot of single men in the room. There's a lot of single men in there, and they're all just staring at Beyonce dancing, like in kind of in awe, you know, because none of us have ever really been this close to her as the full-fledged superstar that she is now. Yeah. Right? Which I have another Beyonce story I'll tell after this. Okay. And so Keith, one of the owners of FUBU, actually this was when cameras were digital. This is when cameras were transitioning from film to digital. Okay. So he had a camera, so he's not only able to take pictures, he's actually able to shoot video. And while all of this is happening, while they're dancing, I think this is during the scene with the chairs. So it's like her and several other girls, and they all have these short skirts on or dresses, whatever, and they're all dancing seductively on the chair. They've got a leg up on the chair, so you can kind of see the thigh and maybe a little bit of butt if you're staring hard enough. And Jay-Z calls and talks to one of her assistants. If I had to guess, it would be her cousin Angie that he would have talked to, because Angie has always been the right hand to Beyonce. And he's like, yeah, how's the video going? Oh, it's going good. Are the guys there? Yeah, they're there. You know, it's them and some of their homies. And we're all of the guys that are with us are the only men there. And well, let's say this. There were other men there, but they weren't straight. Sure. So he's like, wait a minute, how many dudes are there? And so she's like, oh, it's about 9 or 10 guys, I guess, over there. Where are they now? They're in here. They're in the soundstage. They're kind of watching, watching her film. What is she wearing? They describe the outfit, and he's like, yo, clear the room. Wow. So they immediately come over to us, and they kick all of us out, send us up to our dressing rooms. Wow. And we're told to stay there. Wow. Until we have to shoot. Okay. We're not allowed to watch Beyonce dance anymore in the video. And so I guess Beyonce gets wind. She comes up, and she apologizes. Wow. To us for having to, I'm so sorry you guys had to leave the room, but Jay's not comfortable. And we're like, no, we understand fully, right? we're like, no, it's no problem. We're happy to be here. Right. But from my point of view, I don't give a shit about none of that. I'm really in awe of watching Beyonce shoot a video. And the main thing we're in awe of is the work ethic, right? Because this entire video is done in one day. And these...
So, hey guys, it's Little Black Book. You already know what time it is, baby. So we're just going to commentate on this real quick, talking about Jay-Z and his jealousy around Beyonce in the early days. Now, I really wanted to talk about this because I wanted to break down jealousy and just talk about relationships and how jealousy plays a part in relationships. Don't forget as well, guys, part of Mineral Gang, make sure you grab your hoodies and t-shirts. So, the definition of jealousy here is emotion and typically refers to the negative thoughts and frustrated feelings of insecurity, fear, and anxiety over anticipated loss of something that the person valued, particularly in reference to human beings. So we heard the story of Bun B talking about Jay-Z, how he called from where he was to say who was in the studio watching Beyonce dance, and as he heard there was men in the studio, he decided he was not comfortable. Okay, this is a form of jealousy and a form of possessiveness and territorial act. And one of the biggest fears of any man, I want to say the sentence, the biggest fear of any man is that another man will pipe your missus. And I use the word pipe as an adjective here, I hope there's an adjective here, on purpose, because for a lot of men, the fantasy, or should I say, yes, the fantasy I should say, of your woman being taken from you has to be over exaggerated. So we don't say you slept with somebody. We say you got your leg over. You effed somebody else. You piped someone. You all the very, I guess, vulgar and very descriptive words to describe sex is what a man would use when it comes to a fear of another man taking your missus. Now, if you even break that sentence down, our biggest fear, number one, jealousy comes from a place of fear. Okay, you fear that the valued person in your life will be taken from you, and often these are as a result of our past experiences and our childhood experiences that we face. And these formulate into our fears, our anxieties, and our insecurities. Now, the breakdown, insecurity just means an uncertainty or anxiety about oneself, a lack of confidence. Now, an anxiety about oneself, well, the reason why this anxiety comes about is oftentimes because we are comparing ourselves to someone else. You see, in order for me to have, this confidence, you have to ask the question, where does confidence come from? You see, when you have a monetary banking system, the thing that is valued is money is valued because it is tied to something that gives it value. So, for instance, we might say the Federal Reserve or the UK Banking Reserve has gold in it, right? The Queen has the Queen's gold or whatever, right? That gives money, paper, value. It's based on something. So oftentimes the lack of confidence is based upon something that is a bedrock in your life as to what gives you confidence. So for instance, your money will give you confidence. Your job will give you confidence. Your social status will give you confidence. Your looks will give you confidence. Your car will give you confidence. These things will all give you confidence. And here's where it begins to get shaken. It begins to get shaken when you lack confidence because one of these things, you meet someone else who potentially has either greater or equal or has the ability to match you in some type of area and take what you believe is valued to you. So when we talk about jealousy within a relationship, and obviously I'm going to specifically talk about men per se, we focus on jealousy being a negative thought. So jealousy has negative thoughts and connotations and a frustrated feelings of insecurity, right? And fear and anxiety over anticipated. So this hasn't happened yet, but just like anxiety, you are anticipating a future event that something will be taken away from you. And this value that we're talking about is Beyonce. Beyonce is of a certain caliber and value. And what you might have not heard in the audio is that at this point, Jay-Z and Beyonce were just kind of starting out. So he was still fresh. He still wasn't sure where she lied potentially or where her loyalties were to. And so he had found this valued thing and wanted to hold on to it. And for him, he didn't want anyone to take what's his. So now let's break down the sentence, biggest fear, another man piping your missus. And I say that again, those words. So the biggest fear, let's talk about that theme. First of all, for a lot of men, their manhood is questioned because a woman, and I want to just understand this kingdom theory. So when we're dealing with men, we think about men and kingdom. Kingdom just means a king who has a domain. He governs a territory. For a kingdom to be successful, boastful, wealthy, he's to have glory in that kingdom. The glory is a wealth in that kingdom. The wealth can also mean the booty or the woman or the queen or the beauty in that kingdom, right? And so the woman becomes this wealth, this beauty, and this glory of the kingdom. So when a woman is taken from that kingdom, you're actually saying that your kingdom doesn't have the wealth anymore. In fact, your strength and your prowess as a man, your manhood, is questioned if a woman or your queen is taken from your kingdom. Therefore, your kingdom is weak. And so a lot of men build up pride in this area. Okay, and their woman becomes an extension of a leash that they hold, that they put on, so they're not embarrassed, right? And so when we talk about this idea of manhood being applied to the fact that you can make sure that no other guy can take your girl because that questions your manhood, that leads us into toxic masculinity and how we view masculinity and how it's meant to be portrayed, right? And then you talk about the biggest fear, another man. What we're talking about, another man, is an external threat. And here's the thing: when it comes to external threats, you can't control an external threat, but what you can do is control the person within the relationship. And when you're not careful, you end up going into control mode, which is where jealousy actually takes you. When you start to go into jealousy mode, people often become very controlling, right? So what you'll see is, and we all do it, it's natural, we all do it. You might say, you can't hang around with this person. I don't like this girl. I don't like that guy. I don't like the opposite sex who you're chilling with. Can't go dinner to this person. Can't go lunch with this person. Can't go cinema with this person. Can't do this, can't do that. And we all do it. We set up boundaries. Why? Because of past experiences. And because we also watch other people's relationships, we try to take notes and say, okay, this wasn't successful. In my relationship, I'm going to implement A, B, and C. Right? And so the external threat, we know we can't do anything about, just like Adam and Eve. We couldn't do anything about the snake coming in. What we could do is something about Eve. Right? So a lot of men try to control. And then it says the pipe and fantasy. I said men obviously, take the smallest of things and make it into a large thing. When it comes to, the ideas in terms of what the woman could be getting up to, men can take it to the most extreme, right? And then obviously the words "your missus" is about possession, and this is where jealousy kicks in, because it's about my thing, my value, my woman, my toy, my this, my that, right? It's possessiveness, right? Because we believe we have some type of right over this particular thing that we're talking about. So then jealousy begins to build because we're scared of losing. We are scared of losing. And so there's deep-seated feelings of possessiveness and insecurity and shame attached with jealousy. And there's a self-critical thoughts. We have feelings of inadequacy in comparison to perceived threat. So when we see the perceived threat, like when B was the perceived threat, Jay-Z weighed it up and said, okay, a couple of guys in there, with Beyonce, like a man's not thinking that she's gonna get raped. What he's thinking about is whether this woman would succumb to the prowess of another man. Why do we think that? Because we managed to make that woman succumb to our prowess. So therefore, if I can make her succumb, that means another man can make her succumb, right? And so now the perceived threat we start to worry about, and a feelings of inadequacy as we compare ourselves to the person becomes dangerous towards us, right? And so we often as well perceive ourselves as less lovable than the person who's a perceived threat. So the person coming along, we're thinking to ourselves, nah, man, they're gonna love my girl more, or they're gonna love my man more. They can take my man away or take my girl away because they can do something. What is it that my partner would even see in them, that they would even have a conversation with them? All sorts of manner of questions begin to come into our head. And it's because we perceive ourselves as less lovable. We question ourselves and say, hey, I don't think I deserve that much love. Yeah. And therefore I have to hold on to this because I don't know when the next one's going to come, and then, you ask yourself questions. They don't really love you. You say certain statements. They don't really love you. If you trust, you get hurt. And you say all these things in your mind. And this is coming from what we call the inner critical voice. And depending on how much room and influence your inner voice gets, the bigger the havoc it can wreak on your physical life. And so these inner critical voices are built upon our past and childhood experiences. So our childhood experiences, which are often negative, our feelings and experiences, for instance, that equal you felt sad being ignored as a kid. Therefore, when you grow up, you don't like being ignored and you feel like you're being potentially abandoned. Or even say, as a kid, you felt sad and you felt pain that somebody did abandon you, and therefore now you have an over attachment or over attachment to the person, that you want to be around that person all the time, smothering them because you're scared. Should you not smother, they'll abandon you. Right? Jealousy kicks in when you have a bit of space between you two and you think to yourself, they're pulling away, right? And that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because you said, oh, yeah, they're going to leave me anyway. And then they actually do leave you. Why? Because your behavior. You was moving mad. And then we have our past experiences that influence a degree of jealousy in our lives. So, being hurt in the past, being rejected, being betrayed can trigger old feelings that there is something fundamentally wrong with us. And this is where, jealousy really does kick in. What do you feel is fundamentally wrong with you? And with Jay-Z, his situation, what do you feel like was fundamentally wrong with him in comparison to the guys that were in the studio? Right? He's got all his money, do you know what I'm saying? His money schlong, like, who's gonna take Beyonce away from him? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's gonna do that? But he's comparing himself to someone that maybe has it better than he has, that she would see and go with. That inner voice that we have is important to understand, that we can lead into checking, like you're checking your partner's phone, kicking out, make sure that people don't want to chill the opposite sex, stating what one can and can't do as your partner, can be forms of, restricting their behavior, and it can also be a part of acting on self-doubt and mistrust that has nothing to do with our current circumstances. So you may say, oh, you know what, I don't need to go out, like with that girl, and you be like, and the person might be like, why? I just don't want you to go out with them. I don't like their energy. I don't think they're right. I think that she might even like you. And actually, what you're actually saying is that if you're really honest with yourself, that's self-doubt and mistrust that has nothing to do with this particular person now, but all to do with the fact that you previously, were hurt in the past, right? And so that's always interesting as well to deal with. I think with the Jay-Z and the Beyonce situation, it's very clear that obviously Jay-Z in this particular aspect wanted to be territorial, wanted to hold on to the valued persons, and he initiated his power by getting everybody to move out of the studio when he did. It was a show of display of power, a show of display of territorial marking. And Beyonce had to apologize, and she had to, because this is a professional workspace. Why would Jay-Z want to avert pressure there? And it's all a part of how we see ourselves and what we view ourselves in comparison, because Beyonce is Beyonce this time. It's not just a Beyonce of the street. This is Beyonce in the industry, and he's Jay-Z. As much as he's Jay-Z, this is a top quality woman, and therefore insecurities can set in, because you're on the same playing field. So obviously I just want to talk a little bit about jealousy and kind of break that down. I hope that, guys, helps you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know if you want us to do more videos like this where we don't actually show our face, but just talking on separate issues as well. Guys, you already know what time it is. You know what time it is. No, we're slightly off, but anyway, you already know what it is, baby. Appreciate you. Still up, still loaded.